calling to order the WTA Board of Directors meeting for Thursday, February 19th, 2026. Vicki, can we start with roll call?
Yes, Buchanan.
Here.
Do we have board member Cotton online?
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like Hawkinson. Here. Cortez.
Here.
Lautenbach. Here. Lilyquist.
Here.
Lund.
Here.
Reinstra. Here. Stewart.
Here.
And Darwin.
Present.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Item C, public comment. Each speaker is allowed a maximum of 3 minutes on any topic relevant to WTA. Is there anyone online who would like to unmute and address the board? Please do so now. Also, let the record show, Jason Cotton is with us.
I'm happy to start. My name is Owen. I'm a student at Western, and I would like to express my support for WTA going fare free by implementing a car tab fee in the city of Bellingham, which would go through the City Council of Bellingham. I would also like to express my support for the board approving the recently updated rapid transit locally preferred alternative. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else online that would like to unmute and address the board? Seeing none. Anyone in person? All right, no one in person. Item D, we have a closed session. So if you're not going to participate, please remove yourself now. The board will now meet in closed session for a collective bargaining update as allowed by RCW 42.30.144B. The board will be in closed session for approximately 10 minutes until 8:12 a.m. All right, I call the regular meeting back to order. Item E1, annual review and approval of DM delegation of authority. No, just kidding.
So we're proposing, when we adopted this, or when the board adopted this 3 years ago, it was let's bring this back every year, see how it's going. So it's coming back for its annual renewal. There are no proposed changes to it. Every year we do a scrub from the previous year to see are there things that we learned that could go into this to improve it. There wasn't any suggestions this time, so we're recommending that it be approved in same form as adopted last year.
All right, Scott.
I'll move approval.
Second. All right, we have the motion in a second. Is there any further discussion or question? Being none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you very much. E2, approval of amendment number 2 for interlocal agreement between WTA, the dog, Washdot, everybody.
A lot of big players. So just want to point out that we have Hugh Conroy from Whatcom Council of Governments on, and I was looking to see Ryan Clements from Washdot will be joining if he's not already online again. Not positive. This is that's just in case there are questions, but staff uses its housekeeping measures. This contract was originally signed back in 2015, amended in 2020, and then on the 5-year cycle, amended again. On page 35 of the packet is a strike through of the proposed changes to the amendment. You can see most of those are just kind of housekeeping, updating things that have changed in the 5 years. nothing really substantive on that. So, with that, happy to answer questions.
Anyone? How about a motion?
I'll move approval. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, that passes. Thank you. E3, approval of contract award for Vector Truck Services. Cindy, hi.
Good morning. My name is Cindy Camping. My role here is facility manager with WTA. And I'm here to seek board approval for a contract with Specific Facility Solutions for maintenance services to maintain our stormwater and wastewater conveyance and treatment systems. That includes like parking lot sweeping. Vector truck is for pulling out the sludge and sediment from oil water separators. So the contract is up to 6 years. And oh yeah, any questions?
Scott?
Does this cover all WTA sites?
Yes,
So
yes,
Burdell, Linden,
current and future.
Mhm. Right. Anyone else?
Yeah, all
It's
right.
the catch-up.
I'll move we approve the contract.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you, Cindy. Next up, the consent agenda.
Approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye. Any opposed? Right, thank you very much. V1, WTA 2026 goals.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for your patience. We tried to recap 25, but ran out of time for 26. So appreciate your patience. We tackled that this time. As we look forward to 26, as we develop what our goals are and how those interplay with the ultimate vision of WTA, we always ground ourselves back in our purpose and our mission, where we're trying to go on those and how those initiatives we're trying to get accomplished tie back to that. Those initiatives aren't just for initiative's sake; they're to drive outcomes for the betterment of the community, which ties back to our mission. So, just as a reminder, our purpose is to connect people to opportunity. That's kind of why we exist. The mission, it's hanging up there, is to make the community a better place, and how we do that is through safe, friendly, efficient, reliable service. Through innovative transportation solutions, environmentally friendly transportation solutions, and then a big one, partnerships. So as we're looking at these, we're always kind of tying back to that. As we're leading into this, I also wanted to point out that the organization is kind of going through an evolution. Board's direction 3-4 years ago was try to think a little differently for WTA. The problems out there are very complex and require partnerships and leveraging each other's strengths and covering each other's weaknesses to try to tackle these things. And so that led to trying to think differently. How can we leverage innovative transportation solutions as an example, leverage our service, leverage partnerships to try to do things differently. And what that led to were things like the Catholic Community Service Partnership at the Linden Park and Ride, acquiring the base camp property, looking at the rapid transit, those kinds of projects. And those were kind of preparatory things that we were going through: land acquisition, developing partnerships, getting the agreements, those kinds of things. Now we're kind of moving towards execution. And this year is kind of that transition phase as we move towards that execution. So some of the guiding principles that we have going into this year is really focus on wrapping up those preparatory things and starting to move into execution, which has a number of things that we need to work on. Looking at part of that moving into execution will be building capacity to be able to do things in a different way. Doing a land acquisition is very different than activating a piece of property or preparing to develop it, those things. So kind of doing what you can do, or doing what only you can do, and so really looking at those things that are systems and processes that help build capacity. Some of that is delegation of responsibility. Where's the right level to delegate to get things accomplished? Underlying all that is paying attention to our culture, being really mindful of a say-do gap, what we're saying and what we do and how those align. So those are kind of some of the guiding principles going into how we're going to implement things going forward. The effects that we're trying to achieve from these initiatives and actions are to improve access, whether that's to jobs, medical care, shopping, recreation, friends, family, all those kinds of things. The environmental impact, how do we keep driving forward with our lowering our footprint and decarbonization? And that doesn't necessarily be just the bus framework, it's the other things that we do as well. So working on multimodal approach, biking, walking, transitioning people through smart trips, the preservation of old growth forest to help reduce our footprint. Those kinds of things are all things that are impactful, but don't require purchasing a $1.5 million electric bus. The federal government's not going to help you with. So doing that, looking at another effect is trying to reduce congestion as population growth. How do we support our partner jurisdictions and economic growth? How do we support in making housing that is more affordable, bringing online more housing units in walkable, busable, bikeable neighborhoods, helping people to live independently. As an example, helping people to age in place so they don't have to move into a senior assisted facility. And then focusing internally really on unity of effort, unity of purpose, back to that why we exist and those things. So those are the outcomes we're trying to drive towards. And we're doing that through a variety of initiatives and no particular order. The Linden Station is a goal this year. Working with Catholic Community Services to get a ground lease on that to support their funding stack that they can work on. Start going into designing and planning, and then also continuing to work on that design stack back to that mission partnerships. Working with the folks that work on the low income housing tax credit, partnership with Senator Murray got us the $2 million to help towards that. The state with $500,000 in pre-development, continuing to work on those, which will have the outcomes that we talked about on improving access, reducing environmental footprints, hopefully economic, and the housing components of those. So that's kind of how that ties back. The downtown station, the actions we're looking at this year are activating that property. So we're well underway on talking to folks on how can we better activate that property. Forming a kind of a partner governance team to work on what are the goals as a community project we want as outcomes from that, which will enable us to drive towards a public-private partnership, which will then enable better financing capabilities into the future of that, as well as continuing to look at financing and doing studies on things that a developer would need as we go into that public-private partnership. As I'm going through questions, please stop me. You all know I tend to ramble sometimes, so please stop me.
Could I ask you questions then?
No.
Realistically,
That was just perfunctory, like I asked my wife if she needs help.
realistically, on the Linden project, what's the next milestone we expect to see? Maybe not a shovel in the ground, but is there another milestone? And same with the downtown station. What do you think the next big milestone is on getting together? You talked about a public-private partnership, as well as activating it. So what are the milestones that might come up this year?
So on the Linden project, I think the big milestone would be the ground lease we're shooting for this summer. Because that's what they need then to start, like Department of Commerce, the hookup fees. I can't remember the grant program that needs, but they need to have that interest in their lease on the phone, and we'll start discussions with them on what that ground lease would look like. So that's probably the next big milestone on that. I know Catholic Community Services has been, Mayor Cortice and his staff have been super available helping work through that. So we'll have, I would think before the end of the year, at least schematic designs of a phased approach and what that could look like. So I think you'd see that this year on those. Maybe some more on financing, hoping the low income housing tax credits will come into what year that would be available and some crystallization of those things. So I would think those would be the big milestones on that project this year. For downtown, we have to get a property manager. We're just finalizing that. We have an interim one, we're just finalizing that. And that's a prerequisite to being able to lease the property under state law. So we're finalizing that. We've had inquiries from some organizations that would really activate that property. And by activation, I mean bringing people down to that area on a repeated, regular basis to try to make that end of downtown more active on a temporary basis while we work to actually redevelop it. So project things you would see would be the property manager, hopefully get a lease to activate on that. That'd be something the board could see. We're forming that's on the activation side. On the development side, working in parallel is we've got some folks, including Tim, sitting in the room, and some others that on city, port, WTA, and business community to form a governance team to develop, okay, what are the community goals we want to see out of this project? Because this is really while there's a WTA portion of it, it's really a community project. We're just back to what the board said, think differently. How do we leverage what we're bringing to the table with other things to support downtown activation, to support business downtown, support the cities looking at the downtown connections plan of street networks down there. How does that fit into there with the rapid transit? Those things. So there's so what we want to do is get this community project goals together, which and talking with public-private developers, what they've told us is that's the part that they can't pro forma is, does the community support this project? They can look at geotag, they can look at absorption rates, they can look at those things and kind of pro forma it out, but is there community support and goals that are that, which is a big plus on that. So doing that, and then also having a broader advisory group to check those goals with community folks. So we're assembling folks from finance, community, business community, and so forth.
Kim?
That's great to hear all the behind the scenes less, especially as it relates to the future of the downtown station. I would love to offer an invitation for your team to come and engage early with the city's interdisciplinary downtown forward team. We meet twice a month. And we've, it would be great to bring you in early to see how the downtown station goals can align with our strategic plan for downtown, which we call Downtown Forward. So making sure where there's alignment would be ideal and early in the process.
We'd be more than happy. Thank you for that. You moved on the screen, sorry. And thank you for that invitation. And kudos to your staff who Public Works and Planning have been talking with us and how do we form that group and things. So kudos on that. Very and happy to come talk with the broader group on it, which would be good to have, make sure the broader team knows as well. But thank you
Great.
for that. So we'll work with your team to get scheduled.
Thank you, Les.
Thank you, Mayor. So that's kind of what you will expect, big milestones this year. And then rapid transit is another one that is out for the planning teams doing a great job out talking about that. You would, from a board perspective, you would see probably April timeframe-ish.
April, we're coming to the board, right?
Yeah, to the board, city council, Bellingham City Council on that. And that ties into the what the city of Bellingham's trying to do with activation. It also ties into the public market and our property down there. So that's another big initiative. I guess I should point out, there's a whole bunch of things going on at the various department levels that are working on things. These are just kind of large organizational things that we're doing. We'll talk about FIFA in a little bit, because that's a big one on there. Continue, the board just approved on the transit access funds, getting those projects. So we'll get those signed and now hopefully working with the agencies to get those going. Continuing our decarbonization strategy. As you know, we got the grants for the low-no vehicles, the hybrid vehicles on that. Working with the Whatcom Land Trust and Million Trees on the preservation component. At the March 5th workshop, those organizations will be coming to talk about that and the effect that that's having. Looking at and then really underlying all this is making sure that our culture is good. So how do we make sure people are feeling valued and informed and heard? So continuing, we have all employee forums, we have operations meetings, we have newsletters, we have announcements, and so forth. Really trying to make sure people understand what's going on, back to that outcome that we're trying to drive with unity of purpose, unity of effort on where we're trying to go. And then also underlying that are financial sustainability, continuing to work on how do we better close that gap of operating expenses and revenues. So creative ideas on there that we're working towards on that, including things like the 5307 drawdown, the practicality of that. Kudos to the COG group for getting that on the STIP so we can move that forward with those kinds of things. And then continuing to look at means and methods to build organizational capacity and capabilities to accomplish these initiatives. So that's kind of where we're headed in 26 at a big 50,000 foot level.
The properties to the north.
So that's still in the due diligence stage. So we've had a few things to work through with them. We have a couple areas we need to check on a phase 2 environmental to take a look at that. Got to clarify a few things on leases there that would go forward. But we're proceeding along with it. Devin and is leading that effort, is doing a great job on that. We have regular internal evaluation meetings and the property was great. It's a very cooperative relationship. So that's big ticket items, 26, where the board in. Any questions? That's all I got on that.
Any questions? It looks like. All right, G2, FIFA update.
Yeah, I wanted to just provide a update on FIFA, where we're at. WashDOT has kind of signed the agreement on the funding source for that as a fan zone city or a transit agency within a fan zone city. So wanted to kind of take a moment, share our planning and things that you may see going forward. Just as backup, this is June, July timeframe. There are 7 games in Vancouver and 6 games in Seattle. 4 teams are playing at both venues, Australia, Qatar, Belgium, and Egypt. So that has led to the problem set being, okay, how do you do north-south if people are trying to get from Vancouver to Seattle? And whether it's part of those 4 teams or people that may be wanting to get back and forth for other reasons between the venues. Also, kind of, if you will, east-west, which means how do we support the city announce their fan zone locations, and how do we make sure that we're having sufficient service on those game days to make sure that folks are getting to those. And then while we're doing those kind of extra things, how do you keep your regular service going during that time frame as well? So those are kind of the problem sets that we've been working on. The state legislature last year did a formula grants through WSDOT for transit agencies and fan zone cities. Our grant allocation of that was approximately $192,000. How we're in consultation with WSDOT, how we're looking at spending that is on making sure we have staffing of vehicles for increased frequency on game days. Doing a partnership on a regional service. So how can we move people from the Linwood Park and Ride to the Richmond, BC, to go light rail to light rail on that with potential stops in between. So regionally, we've been working with the COG in the Pacific Northwest Economic Region and so forth on how do we make something like that happen so that people could seamlessly get from SeaTac to Vancouver, and then with opportunities along the way. So looking at that, looking at rider communications, so from marketing to having temporary folks at various locations that help guide people where they're going. Increasing, this would be a good thing to continue on, is that increasing signage and wayfinding and being able to use this to put those in locations that we'll be able to continue to leverage afterwards. On that, we're working on trying to upgrade our transit app so that visitors can come through easily downloadable and easier for folks to get around. And then have some money for safety, making sure that we're okay. These are all, we don't know on the intelligence kind of data points, if you will, on what the demand will really be. Part of our partnership has been with the FIFA World Cup Seattle group and working through them, getting information. The next tranche of information is expected beginning of March. That will help us identify how many people bought tickets both in Seattle and Vancouver. So we kind of try to scope what that north-south, if you bring home, will actually look like, healthier demand on them. Chamber has been great. Tourist folks have been great. The city has been wonderful in keeping us abreast of things. I'll try to get those data points to try to figure out what that demand is so that we can try to scale appropriately. On that. So that's kind of where we're at now. There'll be more as we come forward or get closer to that, and more information is revealed, get more data points on demand, how we can scale. So any questions? That's all I have.
I hope. Yeah, you, Les, thank you for the update. You talked about trying to create a connection between the light rail system to the north and to the south. There's one border, I think 3 or 4 counties in that link, and therefore at least 3 transit agencies, if not 4. There's a Canadian partner. Are we going to be pooling vehicles with other agencies, or is one agency going to take the lead?
Yeah, what we've decided to do is contract that. And so there are charter bus operators that routinely go across and are licensed in both, because none of our agencies can cross the border, and the Canadian group can't come down. So thanks to the COG and the North Sound Transportation Alliance, we've been having regular meetings coordinating, okay, how can we do this? And get permission, because this charter group can be operating in various, as you said, transit agencies up and down the corner. So it's been a collective effort to try to do this. So hopefully this could be a test case too, to see, Washington has a intercity bus program. If we were able to provide some data to them that, hey, this is a very valuable thing, maybe there's something into the future. It wouldn't be WTA at all, but it could be a test case for the future for other things as well.
Tim?
Yep. Thank you. This is all good information. It makes me wonder less. We're having conversations that align and wonderment about how many, you know, visitors from outside of Whatcom County this will bring. And I think we've been incrementally lowering those expectations. And part of the pivot to the way we restructured the Bellingham fan zone was to create a great experience for everyone, but also acknowledging that it will be a lot of people from Whatcom County. So it seemed like there was this focus on, Linwood to Richmond, and maybe that was a misunderstanding. But I want to make sure that WTA is really focused on how do we get people from Birch Bay, from Sumas, from Linden to the fan zones here.
Yep.
I want to make sure everyone in Whatcom County has abundant transit options to engage in what we have going on.
Yes, that is part of that, if you will, the east-west problem set that we've been working on is how do we move people within Whatcom County, and that's where we'll be using some of that money to search service on those game days to locations. And then that's where we're trying to get data points from places like tourism. Okay, or, are you seeing things at certain hotels that are going to be super crowded? Trying to look at these data points to try to predict where that could come from. Will it come from Plain? Would it come from other locations, in the city or Ferndale or those things? So yes, 100% agree. And Tara's been super helpful on working through that, as is Guy at the chamber. Wester has been super helpful on that, participating in those partnership meetings.
Yeah, I guess on the Linwood to Richmond bus option, that light rail is like every 15 minutes. Do you do a bus an hour? To make it work for people, you have to have enough service to have it there. And you don't want them to wait too long. And it seems like a pretty high hill to climb here.
The thought process has been, if we can pull state money to make this happen during that period of time. Right now, it's really unreasonable to think somebody would go from that area up, because you'd have to ride the train to Linwood and then take a community transit bus to Everett Station and then hop on a Skagit transit bus to Mount Vernon. It's different pay systems, and it just would be very difficult. So there'd be so many barriers. So the thought was, if we can pull this together on those game days, we could see, and then we're working with various charters to try to figure out how much surge capacity do they have? Could it be a meaningful service? And then relying on our FIFA and World Cup partners, okay, if it is once an hour, is it reasonable? If we're getting that word out that people could take the train to get there to time. There's a lot of details, and I can't tell you that it will work, but that's kind of the problems that we're trying.
Well, I guess selfishly, it'd be interesting to see if it works, because I fly out of SeaTac. It'd be nice to have a transit option that I could probably get on in Bellingham and take me to the Linwood station and from there light rail.
Yeah, particularly because you can't park.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
so there's long-term viability things that would be interesting for our community.
Yeah, and if we can do a test case to show that there are ways of doing this, maybe then we can work with, not to commit when watch that folks, but and that could be something that, through the county and other things, we're trying to prioritize as a community. But having that data. Did that answer these questions? Not sure if I. Just want to make sure.
All right, further discussion. Item H, other business. Announcements?
Well, I just, I wanted to say that Les and, Maureen and I went down to Olympia and to the, they went to a transit conference. I went to fun visits with all the legislators. And I just wanted to, say how impressive it is to be able to walk into a legislator's office and they recognize Les and Maureen and are just so eager to hear what WTA is doing and that we are recognized as an innovative leader in the state, with the funding that is being given, with the ideas that we're coming up with, that staff is coming up with, and the direction that WTA is going in. I just wanted to express my thanks to everyone here that is taking this on and leading WTA in a great direction because it is being recognized and it's just, again, just walking in and just being greeted so warmly is a great thing. And yeah.
Thank you. Right, announcements?
One reminder that next meeting on the 5th is the workshop, so it's a long one, but it'll be a fun one.
They always are.
I'm trying to encourage people to come.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.